Hello, I'm Ryan Callan and welcome to another round of Net Racing Europe's GT3 Masters 2013 season. And we are here today, as you can see, at Varano in Italy for two sprint races around this frantic, tight circuit and 27 laps each round this event. And the track is quite short, but the speeds are very low, so look out for the races to be around about 30 minutes in length here today. As I said, I'm Ryan Callan, and we have been covering the GT3 2013 Masters as presented by Net Racing Europe over the season so far. Last time out, we were at Brno, and at Brno, we saw Sven Kovalik take both race wins at that facility. Those were his second and third wins of the season, and unfortunately, despite having taken 3 wins of the season, that's more than anybody else. He is quite a dark horse in the championship hunt, unfortunately, due to a disconnect at Donington and also a disconnect at Ruapuna also as well, the round previous to that. So that was difficulties for Kovalik. And as a result, he obviously gained weight for this event also as well. So it's kind of really not done well for him at all, as it is. But he has taken 3 wins this season so far. And but this track really does harm that extra weight because the extra acceleration zones and braking zones, as you will see from the on-board video that Sven will produce for us. Let's take a look at those standings then, as we present ourselves into... Oh, we'll go back to the start of this video and try that. There we go. And then watch the video from the start, and we'll see. Here we are. Now this is round 6, of course. It's not race 6 of the season because we have had a few sprint rounds throughout the season. And these are the venues we've already been to, as you can see on the map there. And Italy is where we are. Varano de Meligari, Circuit de Autodromo Riccardo Paletti. It is named after also. And here are the stats for this track. Very, very tight circuit. A few overtaking zones, but you have to be really committed. I mean, this circuit is bad enough in Clio's, never mind in GT3 cars. So looking forward to seeing how the drivers deal with that. Sebastian Hauer still leading the championship, but the lead has been cut to 5 points. Just 5 points in the championship. But he's lost all of that weight that he had at Brno. There's Aladic there in second spot, with also Ozinski and Fish very, very tight together in third and fourth, with Kovalik a dark horse, one would say, for the championship. Last time out, we saw Howard pick up a couple of solid results, but it's been difficult for him in the recent races because of that weight that he has been carrying. But he has discarded very much of that weight for this event here today. Just 13 kilos he has for this event, so look out for fireworks from the reigning champion and championship leader. He's taken 2 wins this season so far, and a batch of other very strong results also as well. Aladic, his closest rival, has only taken one victory this season so far. That shows how consistent Aladic has been in general. We've seen a few mistakes, and also Fish as well. Seen a couple of mistakes from Fish, 2 races in a row, in fact, where he's done the same mistake behind Aladic in the same kind of corner, 90-degree right-hander. So he'll be looking to discard those mistakes and move on, I'm pretty sure. We've just gone into qualifying, I believe, in this for this event. So let's hop into qualifying for you and show you what's going on track right now. And let's find somebody that is out on track. We've got Aladic who's out on track right now, so let's quickly jump on board with him. Here you are. Here is Aladic. He is on track. He's taken 1 race victory this season so far. That's the feature race at Donington Park. Of course, the feature races have double points, so it's the same as winning 2 races in 1, really. So if he won 2 races here today, he would take the same amount of points as he won at Donington Park, because the races here are sprint races and not the feature race. So Aladic looking for a strong result. Aladic is running 51 kilos in that AA Motorsports Audi. And a reminder of the qualifying format for the NetRacingEurope.com GT3 Masters. There is kind of a Super Pole format, but they have 2 hot laps they can complete. So 1 out lap, 2 hot laps, and 1 in lap. You must complete 1 of your hot laps. I'm not sure why anybody wouldn't complete one of the hot laps, but that is the rule. You must complete one of those hot laps, and Alex is charging around the circus at the moment. We've seen the fastest driver so far has been Howard in pre-practice with 4.4, with a new driver, Patrick Smolny, just behind him. So Smolny has come in and joined Andreas Carlson as one of the drift monster cars in the Ferrari 458. Carlson is not here today, unfortunately, so Smolny is by himself, but he looks like he's capable of looking after himself. Alicia there with a 5.5. We won't be pleased with that at the moment. That's a pretty slow time for a driver of his caliber as he heads now through the Turn 1 and Turn 2 complex. I've driven this track many times, in fact, in a Renault Clio for the Touring Pro Series. The organisation that I run myself, and taken a couple of victories here, in fact, myself also, in fact, including heading for one victory and running out on the final lap of fuel right at this corner here. I ran out of fuel, and that was very embarrassing indeed. But this track, very tight. You have to be very precise because all the corners are very tight indeed, and through here as well, it really unsettles the cars. You can jump over those curbs. Not so bad actually with the GT3 cars because the downforce kind of keeps them on line, but in the Clios they really do bounce around through there, run right out wide. The gravel really does slow you down also as well, and different lines through here from different drivers through this final section. LED's going for a very wide entry, trying to get the a good exit, whereas other drivers are going for a narrow entry and just kind of sorting it out mid-corner. Let's see what LED can post here. And he does improve to a 105.3, but I would very much doubt that that would be the pole position. Fish is also out on track, Matthias Fish, in this beautiful-looking Intersport MP412C. His teammate Mike Rybak is also here today. He's in 5th at the moment as Shilonka goes up into 4th position with a 6.4. Matthias Fish with a 5.795 there. I'm not sure, in fact, actually, if that's his second flying lap, but either way, he's made a big mistake there at the first corner, and I don't think he will be improving at all. Howard goes second with a 5.6, and we've seen a 4.4 from Howard in pre-practice, so he won't be particularly happy with that. Howard now in that yellow Corvette comes down towards Turn 3. Big bump in the braking zone there. Really unsettles the car as you head into that braking zone and try and get the a good run out of it as well. And also a big bump here into this tight chicane as well. So he's 9 thousandths of a second down on Aladish in that first sector. He needs to sort himself out for the second sector, because if he doesn't get into the fours, he'll be very unhappy indeed, and he will be absolutely a missed opportunity. He can't miss opportunities like this. He has low weight for the first time in a long time in this series. So let's see what he can produce. He's now a 10th up. You see this track is very busy indeed. Now around the final section here. Howard takes a narrower line. As you can see, look, that's a narrower line that we were seeing from Stev Aladish as Fish goes into the pits. So that was his second flying lap. Now Howard, what can he do? Reigning champion. Will he go into the fours? He does, a 4.907, rescued the lap somewhat in the final section. They got sideways through this exit here, as you can see, on his hot lap. So that was a little bit disappointing there from Howard. It's half a second off what he can do, but of course, at this particular track as well, because it is such a short lap, it's very difficult for you to actually get the tyres up to temperature, up to a working order of where you want them to be. So, in fact, in Clios, we do a Super Pole format, so you get one lap. So really, on the out lap, you're working the tyres as hard as you can, but of course, it's never a substitute for pushing the tyres through the corners as normal. Oh, Smolny's around! Smolny is around! He's going to comment how he was going faster in that first sector than Hauer, but he will not move forward from 4th on the grid, and one would think that in fact he will move backwards on the grid now. So that will be a missed opportunity for Patrick Smolny. I was just going to say, actually watching him in pre-practice, he looks very fast, but ragged would be the way I would describe Smolny at the moment. Very quick, but apt to, able to spin every 2 or 3 laps as it is, pushing very hard indeed. So that's not a surprise to me from what I've seen previously in pre-practice. Let's have a look further down the grid. Meisner has, I think he's completed his laps. Right back has not completed any laps right now. Kovalik, is he out on track right now? He is. Here is Kovalik. The Danish driver took 2 wins at Brno with a very close battle with Yazinski in the first race. Moved away a little bit from Aladish in the second race. And Kovalik with a 6.6 in that first flying lap. He will be furious with himself over that one. So let's see what he can do on this second flying lap. Always a second chance, of course. Remember, just had a banker lap on that first lap. But of course, it's not really a banker either, because that 6.6 won't get him anywhere whatsoever. He's actually starting 11th at the moment. Azinski goes second with a 5.128 at the moment. That's, I think, the first flying lap that he has done. So look out for him to improve in that second flying lap. Kovalik is 0.02 of a second faster than Hauer in that first set. We saw Hauer had a couple of problems in that first sector though, so 0.02 of a second is not that much faster than Hauer through there. Now Kovalik comes down towards his second set split. There it is, and he's 0.3 down. Saw him a little bit of a moment coming out of the turn 4 and 5 chicane, as now he heads around 9 and now into 10 and 11. Similar line to Sebastian Hauer, keeping it narrow, just sorting it out in the middle of the corner, because it's such a long corner, you can really hit a late apex there and keeping it tight, nice and tidy. For the exit, Kovalik goes into third. He'll be pleased with that in the end. Third is not too bad for him, considering, remember, he's got 70 kilos on board that car, and it looks very stiffly sprung also. That's Ferrari 458. What can Zinski do? Zinski towards the line. Will he take pole? He doesn't. Zinski second spot with a 5.246. Michael Schneider. Michael Schneider is actually, in fact, in 8th spot at the moment. I think everybody has completed their laps, in fact, at the moment. I can't find anybody else out on track. Or even Anderson, the father of Tor Anderson, has completed his laps also as well. So congratulations to Sebastian Hauer. Let me just check the Marcel Abraham isn't out. He isn't a lap at the moment, but he's not going to improve. I think he may be just heading back into the pits. Indeed he is. So congratulations to Sebastian Hauer. The reigning champion sets another pole position in this season, and he's starting from a very, very good position that you would expect him to do so. Let me just, we've had it on mute the entire session. I do apologise. There are no car sounds at all for the entire session. I do apologise. These beautiful sounding cars also. It's a shame to miss out on those. But Hauer, there he is. That's his second pole position of the season. Kovalik has 3 for the season. So Kovalik is leading the way in both poles and wins. But of course, with those 2 disconnections that he's had this season, one in a feature race, remember, a double points race, and one at Ruapuni. So basically missed out on 3 scores this season has Kovalik. So really an outside chance for the championship as it stands. So Hauer and Zinski first and second on the grid. Kovalik third, and Abraham there in 4th spot. Let's just give you a show of the track there. I'm going to go on board with a lap of Kovalik that he has done during training. And we'll try to enjoy this also then. So here he is, Kovalik, on board with him as he comes over the finish line. Just headed up into 5th gear here, down into 2nd spot, getting down as far as possible. In fact, hitting the curb left hand side there is usually the quickest way of doing it. Give himself as much room as possible for the exit there at turn 2. Now, he's tempting, in fact, using a little bit of the escape road there on the right hand side to give you more space to turn in on the hairpin here. He heads now down towards turn 4 and 5. This chicane. Now there's a bit of a bump here in the braking zone. I'm going to make sure it doesn't upset the car at all. Nice late early apex there from Kovalik, and a beautiful bit of room there. Gave himself on the exit also. Now flat out through here as fast as you dare. And this commitment through there is all about now into X. Now this used to be a bit of a chicane. It's been turned into just a quick left-hander with the ground shot there awaiting anybody who runs wide. And now charging very, very hard indeed into turn 9. Just carry as much speed into there as you can. And kind of sorted out on the exit because it's such a long corner. Just carry lots and lots of speed in early apex and now try and get a decent exit from here. Turn out turn 10 and 11 and across the line. That is a lap of Varano with Sven Kovalik, of course. Now, we're into warm-up here. And we'll put the sounds back on for you once again. Apologies for that. And Sebastian Hauer, as I was saying, is on pole position at the moment. Who's out on track that we can run along with? Zinski. We've not seen Zinski too much in this session so far. The Polish driver driving for SRU. His teammate, Tomasz Kwiatkowski, won back at Karitaba, but it hasn't been seen since, which is a bit of a shame. So, it's just Zinski flying the flag for the Polish drivers at the moment. Let's go aboard with him and enjoy this lap with Darek Kaczynski. He's going to do a couple of side laps here, just get used to the race fuel once again, and we'll be into the race session in just a few minutes' time. Enjoy this without me joining over the top of it, eh? As you can see, here is Marcus Hagman, who's making his way around this circuit, getting a few sight laps in before he goes towards the race. We've seen some pretty good performances from Hagman lately, actually. In fact, has moved his way up in the championship pretty well indeed, up into 9th in the championship. In fact, just 24 points behind his teammate, Ricard Whedon, who's in the pits at the moment, not coming out for a warm-up. And Hagman obviously needs practice at that first corner as he goes straight on it. Oh, don't do that! You're going to be beached. Don't do that in the race. So that was in fact Ricard Whedon who did that. It was not Marcus Hagman. That was Ricard Whedon. And so Ricard obviously finding out what to do and what not to do during the race, and Hagman doing likewise. They are called Hangover Racing Team, and looks like they perhaps have a hangover at the moment because they're both making mistakes out on track. Mike Ray back here has not had a decent qualifying session by his standards, or his teammates' standards in fact, actually, but considering what happened with Ruapuna, I'm sure his teammate is glad that he's a bit further behind him than usual, because they came together, of course, remember, at Ruapuna. But both of those machines are beautiful looking machines, that red and yellow MP412C, and Matthias Fish in this. Oh, we're not going to be able to see this, in fact. Will we see it? There we are. The Intersport McLaren MP412C also. Marcel Abraham is out on track. Well, was on track at the moment. He's gone quickest so far in this warm-up session. While Patrick Smolny ended up 7th, I think, after that qualifying session. So Smolny, on his debut in the GT3 Masters, 7th. Had more potential than that, though, definitely. And he will be looking to move up during the race also. So look out for plenty of fireworks from Patrick Smolny, the Polish debutant in the GT3 Masters. And that is very much his driving style. I don't think we're going to see 27 laps from Patrick Smolny without some kind of incident such as that. And now we are going to go into the race. Drivers are going to form up. We're going to have a formation lap, remember, and then we have a standing start from their positions on the grid. That's how it will be, just like in Formula 1, if you're not so familiar with what I'm talking about. That is exactly what Formula 1 is like. There is the grid forming up on this beautiful circuit Riccardo Paletti, Varano de Meligari, and Hauer for Authy Motorsports is on pole position. He sets off on his warm lap, getting the practice start in there also, charging away from the grid. He has a teammate here today, does Sebastian Hauer, and Michael Schneider, who is in, I thought he was 10th on the grid. In fact, he's not. Where is Michael Schneider? Is he 8th on the grid? There he is. There's Michael Schneider. He's 8th on the grid, in fact. So there's Michael Schneider for Authy Motorsports. He's replacing team over Kevin Authy for the rest of this season. So there is Michael Schneider, his first race of the season also. So we're looking forward to see how he does also. There's Stefan Meisner, teammate to Sven Kovalik behind him, also one of the admins for the league as well. But Sebastian Hauer must fancy his chances of taking a double win at this circuit, and with him having only 13 kilos of ballast on board, one would kind of almost expect him to take full advantage of that and take 2 race wins. Of course, anything can happen, especially at this circuit with its tight confines. It really is a case of anything can go wrong at this particular circuit, just the way the circuit is. So the field making its way around the penultimate set of corners now then, before they go to the grid. Rasping sounds of the vehicles as they make their way around. And we see a great view as we look down the pit straight. It's not straight for very long, as you can see, just that short shoot there between the final corner and the curve towards the first corner also. So look out for that. On board with Sebastian Hauer. There are the lights, see them glowing. Lights are all on, and lights are all out. That was a quick light changeover. Away we go. Osinski's been left completely. Osinski has been left completely. He's been caught out by the quick light changeover. And Hauer, though, has not. Kovalik there has moved up to his second spot. So Hauer leads from Kovalik, from Aladish, from Abraham, from Aladish, from the new driver Patrick Smolny also. So Hauer off to a great start to the race and is shut out of turn 3 and has almost a half a second lead already over Sven Kovalik. So going to look back now from Sebastian Hauer. This is the view from the race leader. There's Kovalik in behind. In fact, we're going to go for Kovalik because we won't see much of the field for very long at this rate. Here is Kovalik on board with his Ferrari 458. Oh, and around has gone the AA Motorsports car of Marcel Abraham. That's very unfortunate indeed. So Aladish converts his 4th place into 3rd. So Abraham is now going to have a very, very long trip back through the field. Is he back to 13th? It's Fish back in 13th in fact as well. So Fish has had a problem on the open lap also, because ahead of him is Marcel Abraham, who's in 14th at the moment. So we have 15 drivers start the race. Well, 14 drivers start the race, including excluding Simrace TV. So we lost somebody already from the start of the race. Not quite sure who that is. Let's have a quick look at the standings there. Hagman and Whedon. It's a fact, it is Hagman who were missing for the race. So Marcus Hagman is not going to be participating in the first race at all. So unfortunate deal for Marcus Hagman, but not unfortunate at all for Sebastian Hauer, who's just absolutely disappeared at the moment. 1.7 second lead after just 1 lap of this race. 1.7 still as they cross the sector line. So how else to do is just manage the car from now on, one would feel, because Kovalik is hampered by the extra 70 kilos he has on board. Now looking back, here is Stef Aladish, and here is Patrick Smolny. He's in 4th spot and he's pursuing Stef Aladish. Aladish has 1 win this season so far. Smolny, of course, is a debutant. Osinski, of course, he started in 2nd spot on the grid, and now he's back to 5th. So he will be seething about that, as the fastest lap of the race, not surprisingly, comes from Sebastian Hauer. Who's in 6th spot then? It's Michael Schneider. So he has a good start to the race as well, as has Stefan Meisner also. So Meisner went from 9th to 7th, and behind him is Ricard Whedon, who's gone from 10th to 8th, if I'm not mistaken, while Ryback has moved back. That's pretty much stayed where he was from the start, with Shalonka in behind him. And there is Marcel Abraham and Matthias Fish fighting over 12th position. That's not where they envisaged themselves fighting before this race started. No doubt about that. It seems like every week one of the front runners has to come through the field and try to find a way back towards the front of the field once again. But it's going to be difficult. I'm not sure what happened to Fish there, but he didn't get any run whatsoever out of turn 4 and 5, and Abraham has absolutely disappeared. So Fish has a lot of work to do here. However, fastest lap of the race, 5.191. Gap now 1.7 to Kovalik, 1.4 the lap before. So Fish, I'm not sure what's going to be going through his head, but he will be feeling pretty dirty about that, about what happened. You have to push very, very hard indeed. Can't afford to mess about here. Only 27 laps, of course, remember, and we're already on lap 4. And look at the difference. Here is Matthias Fish, as you can see. He is in 13th spot. And look at where Sebastian Hauer is. He's across the other end of the circuit. Kovalik is keeping Hauer honest here, no doubt about that. Kovalik has plenty of speed this season so far. No doubt about that. He's got a win at Curitiba, where he was very angry at himself for failing in race 1 there. He won race 2, and then he bounced back from the disappointment of Ruapuna and Donington Park by taking 2 race wins at Brno. So there's no doubt about Sven Kovalik's character at all. He makes sure he fights right to the end and puts the disappointment behind him, even though he may be feeling pretty sick himself. Sick as a parrot, I guess you could say. 4th and 5th looks like the biggest battle at the moment. Here is Smolny and Azinski. 2 Poles battling over this 4th spot. There's Smolny, he's in the Ferrari 458, and behind him there is Azinski in the Ford GT. Also Meisner and Whedon are in a big battle also as well, and Meisner was ahead coming to the line, but Whedon looks like he's going to try and go through, and he has done so. He's gone through on the inside at turn 3 at the hairpin, which is a favourite overtaking spot. Much loved that spot for overtaking, and now he's got the run out of there also as well. Got the inside for turn 4 and 5. In fact, he didn't even need that. He just came across and took the position. Now Whedon is going to try and attack Michael Schneider for the 6th spot as it stands right now. So Schneider had a great start to this race, running in 6th as it stands. 1.3 there. So Kovalik, in fact, has pegged Hauer 105.122. That would have put Kovalik on the front row of the grid if we've been in qualifying. So that shows how quickly those guys are going. They're smaller now, 105.101. Equally so, would have put himself in 2nd spot on the grid. He'll be pretty dirty with himself. They didn't do that in qualifying itself. So Smolny now has a bit of a gap over Azinski. 1.8 seconds, in fact, actually. So something's happened to Azinski on that particular lap. But it's Schneider and Whedon which are the closest battles right now. In fact, though, Oyvind Anderson and Abraham are quite close. So Abraham trying to find his way through. Abraham's got past Shilonka. I think Fish is still behind. No, he's not. So Fish has got ahead of Shilonka also now. So Igor Shilonka has dropped back to 13th and the last of the runners. Here is Fish. There he is in 12th spot. Fish needs to make up lots more ground than he's done so far. No doubt about that, because he's 20 points behind in the championship, and is level also, of course, with Azinski. Remember, Darek Azinski. So Kovalik once again has gained on the leader, Sebastian Hauer, on the 6th lap here. And Hauer is under a little bit of pressure. I'm a little bit surprised by the pressure that Hauer has been put under here by Kovalik. Not because of Kovalik. I'm not surprised by Kovalik. I'm just surprised by Hauer. I would have thought he would have pulled away immediately in the opening laps of this race with a 57, remember, kilo advantage over that Ferrari 458 of Sven Kovalik. But looking at the 2 cars, it looks like in practice, to me at least, that the Corvette a little bit cumbersome through this quick, sharp circuit with the quick direction changes and massive bits of acceleration and braking. And the Corvette really excels more on the faster circuits. But of course, the 458 looks a bit more nimble around this circuit. So maybe that's one of the things that's coming into play. No doubt that Ferrari looks more stiffly sprung than the Corvette of Sebastian Hauer, which looks much more soft. So, but that soft suspension setup should help him later in the race, of course, and save those tyres. So really, it's a kind of a 6 and 2 threes at the moment. As it is, he is still leading from Kovalik at the moment, and may just be pacing himself, making sure to make any mistakes, and knows he has the pace to keep Kovalik behind, and making Kovalik push and make him think he has an opportunity. Of course, and then he make a mistake, and then of course, Hauer has a lovely run to the end. A tactic that Jim Clark used to use back in the 60s, just pushed really hard in the open 2-3 laps of the race and make everybody else have to push so hard throughout the rest of the race that they made mistakes and gave him an easy win. Nice psychology there from Jim Clark back in the 60s. Maybe Sebastian Hauer is drawing some inspiration from that. Fish is now up to 11th spot, so he's got past Abraham. We're not sure what happened to Abraham because he was challenging Oyvind Anderson, and now there's a 4-second gap between those two. So something has happened to Abraham, and he's made a mistake somewhere around the circuit, it seems. But fastest lap of the race there from Hauer, 4.828. So looks like he does have the pace to pull away from Kovalik. Maybe he started with very low pressures, making sure that the tyres don't wear later in this. Remember, there is though a pit stop mandatory in these events, so look out for that. Only 27 laps in this event, remember, so we're on to lap 9 already, so look out for pit stops in around about 5 laps time. Fish, an incident on the opening lap, not sure what happened to him, whether he was helped around or what happened to him, but Abraham definitely wasn't helped around, just a mistake all by himself coming out of turn 5, and he is back in 12th spot, giving himself lots of work to do. His teammate Stefan is still in 3rd spot, very lonely 3rd spot right now, nobody around him whatsoever. Smolny is 5 seconds back of him, and ahead of him is 3.9 seconds to Kovalik, so a bit lonely for Stefan at the moment. Hauer completes lap 9, coming down 2.1 seconds, so he's really beginning to pull away now from Sven Kovalik. Already 6.1 seconds behind also, so not able to hold a candle to Hauer or Kovalik at the moment in terms of pace. But here is Patrick Smolny on his debut. Looking back from Patrick Smolny at Darek Uzinski, the 2 Polish drivers in this event. Schneider and Whedon looks like they're getting a close battle at the moment also as well. Looking back from Michael Schneider, his teammate reports to Sebastian Hauer as well, so that's 1st and 6th at the moment. AA Motorsports are leading the team's championship. They have a very big lead over Badass Racing. Badass Racing is the badass duo of Fish and Ryback. Remember, AA Motorsports have been the most consistent team so far this season. Most of the teams have not had any of the drivers to support them, in fact, actually, it seems. Kovalik and Meisner, pretty much the only other 2 car team. Oh, of course, along with Hagman and Whedon also, but Whedon has missed a couple, and now, of course, we lost Hagman for this first event also. There is an illustration of those big curbs on the inside, which really can upset your car. Whedon was right behind Michael Schneider coming into turn 1 then, and out of turn 2, he just clipped the big curb on the inside. It completely upset his car, threw him right out, slowed him right up, and he lost several car lengths to the German. Ryback is up to 9th then, so he was in 10th earlier on, and now he's trying to pursue Stefan Meisner. Stefan Meisner having a decent run here also. It's a miserable couple of races after some promising speed at Ruapuna, so he's looking to bounce back here. Obviously likes these tight circuits, it seems. The fast-flowing circuits at Donington Park and Bern are not suiting him, but the tight technical circuits of Ruapuna and Varano, it seems at the moment, are paying dividends for Stefan Meisner, teammate, as we say, to Sven Kovalik, who's in 2nd spot, 2.1 seconds now, as you can see, behind Sebastian Hauer. The field all very spread out at the moment. This is the only battle on track, as we can see, and we're going for the inside, but Schneider decided, oh, no, I'm not having any of that. That was my corner still, and I'm going to block you off. Let's look quick look at that on replay. as they come down to, here we are, into turn 3. There goes Whedon for the inside. He came from quite a long way back, it has to be said, so not surprising that Schneider cut him off. And cut him off he did, but back to live action now as they come around towards X corner for the 12th time. Remember, we'll be seeing pit stops pretty soon. Apologies if you can hear the seagulls in the background also. By the way, guys, I do live right next to the seaside, and it is incredibly hot at the moment up in northeast England, which is very unusual, by the way. So the windows have to be wide open, and the seagulls are cawing away, and keeping me up at night also as well. So not very much sleep for me also. And also, if you hear any planes going whooshing overhead, and you think that's a lot of planes for this kind of area, that's because there's an air show next to me also at the moment. And not too many planes here today, actually. In fact, it seemed to be mostly yesterday that took place. But if you do hear any airplanes go screaming across, it's not my fault, honest. It just happens to be the International Air Show at the moment on the beach, just a mile away or so from myself. But Schneider here, look at him. He's pulled away from Whedon. We didn't have that go, a couple of laps ago, but he's pulled away. And got a gap now. It's Whedon who's perhaps going under pressure a little bit from Stefan Meisner. So Meisner, look at him, he's looking very, very assertive indeed, looking menacing in behind Ricard Whedon. The top 5 are all very, very spread out at the moment. 2, 5, and 4 and 2 seconds being all the gaps there, as you can see. So not much going on at the front at the moment. Sebastian Hauer is still in charge of this race. Reigning champion and championship leader has seen his championship lead been, well, eroded away at over the last 2 or 3 rounds, and he wants to get his championship back on track. And this is the kind of situation where he can maximise his run, because he has low weight in the car, remember, just 13 kilos, and he wants to get both race wins here and extend his lead in this championship. Kovlik will be happy to be in second spot, it has to be said at the moment. If he gets 2 second places here today, I'm sure he'll be satisfied with that, because remember, he has those 70 kilos on board, and he's not liking this track either. He says he was criticising whoever picked this track. I'm pretty sure it's fact it was probably him that picked this track for this event. So he's not particularly happy with this track selection, whoever picked it for him, whether it was him or somebody else. So he's not not enjoying driving around this track, but he's got a great result also. Well, he didn't like Varano either. So obviously Sven Kovlik goes very well indeed at tracks where he doesn't like to race, and Whedon finally makes that move stick down the inside of Schneider. He dropped back for a couple of laps, and now here comes Meisner down the inside. No, not going to happen. Not able to make the pass there into turn 4 or 5. Had a half-hearted effort. That's really harmed him on the exit, because look at the gap he now has lost to Schneider as a result. But Whedon has now moved away from Michael Schneider. Looking forward from Michael Schneider's car. There is Whedon just pulling away a little bit. So Whedon, we saw 3 or 4 or 5 laps ago, have a go down the inside at turn 3 and then lose a bit of speed, it kind of seemed like, and drop back almost into Meisner's clutches, but sort himself out, and then down the inside into turn 3 on lap 14 he made that move stick. Back at the front of the field, when will these drivers come into the pits? In fact, will the drivers come into the pits? Because am I being mistaken? Am I getting confused? Because I can't remember. In fact, if there is a mandatory pit stop for these sprint races, I don't think there is. In fact, actually, there is not a mandatory pit stop for these sprint races. So I'm talking absolute cobblers. I do apologise. There's no mandatory pit stop for the sprint races. Of course there isn't, because that wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. So give your head a shake, Ryan, and move on from that. I'm sure the spectators will be shouting at me right now, saying, "That was obvious! We knew that!" I do apologise. But fastest lap of the race there from Sebastian Hauer on lap 16. So that shows how quickly Sebastian Hauer is going. And Kovacic is still only 2.2 seconds behind, so that's he's done a sterling job to even keep Hauer in sight at the moment, considering the extra weight he has on board that car. I'm very impressed by Kovacic's speed so far here today. Let's look back further in the field. Here's Abraham in 11th. Where is Fish? There is Kovacic in 2nd place. Sorry about that. 12th place is Sri Lanka. 13th is Fish. So 13th is Fish. No idea what is going on with Matthias Fish today. He's won races at Net Racing Europe. He has run well all season so far. Qualified okay. Maybe mistaken open laps. Came back to the field, got to 11th spot. And now he's way, way, way down the field. In fact, I think he may even be a lap down. So something has gone awfully wrong for Matthias Fish, because he's not appearing on the scoreboards at all, as you can see, because Sri Lanka is appearing on the scoreboards, but Matthias Fish isn't. So Matthias Fish must be a lap down, unless he's just not appearing on the scoreboards at all. Because there he is. He's behind Sri Lanka, as you can see, just in the background there. There is Fish. So let's see if we can get a gap from Fish to Sri Lanka, and that will give us the answer to whether he's lapped down or not. So I'm not quite sure here, because he's not appearing on the scoring at all. Could be he's lapped down on the entire field. So Sri Lanka crosses the line there. It is 45.002 seconds behind. And Fish crosses the line, and we don't get any of Fish's lap time, so or gap behind. So it would seem to me, let's just stay with Fish, and the first sector is around turn 3 down towards turn 4 and turn 5. Let's see if there's a split time that we'll get from Fish to Sri Lanka. I'm guessing he isn't a lap down, because it's very confusing indeed. Let's see what we can get from Fish here. Does he have a split? He doesn't. So either something's gone wrong with Fish's timing, or he is indeed a lap down on the entire field. Back to the battle for 4th spot. Osinski has got past Patrick Smalley. So Osinski has got past Patrick Smalley. Smalley was pulling away quite a bit from Osinski, so a mistake perhaps from Patrick Smalley at some point during this race. We did say that might happen, in fact, actually, considering his pre-practice form. But either way, Osinski is now up into that 4th spot. That's a valuable 4th spot as well, remember, for Osinski, because he is in the championship fight. He's level on points with Matthias Fish, 20 points behind Sebastian Hauer. But Osinski is running 95 kilos of ballast here today, more than anybody else. So it's not surprising that he's not challenging for the podium positions seriously. He's there in that 4th spot, and that's probably as good as he can hope for, I would say. And in fact, if he gets a couple of 4ths here today, I'm sure he'll be pretty pleased with that. That 95 kilos on board is a massive, massive weight to carry around this circuit, with all its acceleration zones and braking zones. That's why I'm so impressed. Ooh, by Sven. I'm not sure what happened there to Osinski. It looked like he had to follow a big, big push and slide as he put the power on coming out of the final corner, and he's dropped that 4th spot once again. So he's back to 5th. So a mistake there from Osinski, letting his fellow Pole Patrick Smalley come through. And he won't be happy with that at all, because he obviously has worked hard throughout this race so far to get into that 4th spot, and is now back behind Smalley once again. So that will not be a happy Pole on board that video, right? That's Ford GT right now. There's another mistake there from Smalley. He hits the curb pretty hard, but Osinski is not close enough to take any advantage of that mistake. This is what it feels like to be a bumper around Varano circuit, and it's not a good feeling at all. Take a look at the pounding to take over all these curbs. Kovacic's now 4.1 seconds behind Sebastian Hauer, so a couple of mistakes perhaps in the last few laps from Kovalic. The tyres are starting to go off because we're on lap 20 of 27. No pit stops, remember, for this. Yeah, I remember as well. So Osinski on board with him. There's that big curb at turn 1, and then the big curb, big hit once again, and then run out on the serrated curb on the exit of turn 2 also. Big bump here in the braking zone. You see the car get light as it goes over that. Very, very difficult to get the car braking down there, because you often lock up the rear tyres as a result of that and get sideways into the corner, which is disastrous in a Renault Clio. Never mind in a GT3 car, which is rear-wheel drive anyway. Renault Clio, it's pretty easy to to correct the slide, just put the power on, but a GT3 car, you really have to look out for that bump. And then pound its way over the curbs through turns 6 and 7 towards turn 8 here at the Jackie X corner. Let's go back through the field, shall we? Tell you the story of the race so far. Sebastian Hauer has been imperious pretty much at the front of this field so far. Away from the grid, he has led, took pole position. Kovalik kept him honest in the opening couple of laps, but since then he has dropped back and not seriously challenged for the win, but he's in a nice solid second place for him. Aladish has had a very, very lonely race indeed, been third place for pretty much all of it, inherited third place after Abraham made a mistake on the opening lap, and since then he's running that third spot, very lonely indeed. Schmolny has swapped positions with Izinski a couple of times in this race. Oh, he just managed to stop there for turn 3, and he's running in 4th spot right now. Has had a fairly event-free run, but at swap positions, I would say, a couple of times with Darek Kaczynski, who's struggling with that 95 kilos of weight. Ricard Whedon has had a good race, worked his way through the field quite a bit, and is now in a solid 6th spot, but not challenging really for 5th spot ahead of him. Michael Schneider is in 7th spot for All His Motorsports in his first race of the season so far, so he'll be happy with that. Pretty good for him. Started in 8th, so he's gained 1 position from the grid. And Stefan Meisner will also be happy with his return to form after a couple of difficult races at Dunegan and Ruapuna. He's in 8th spot. 9th spot is Mike Ryback. Fairly solid for him, but I'm sure he'll be wanting a little bit more in the second race. Try and work his way through the field. 10th spot here is Marcel Abraham, so he's finally caught up to the top 10, taking a long time over it. So Marcel Abraham was running 3rd on the open lap and then spun off, so he will be feeling filthy with himself over that. 11th spot is Oivind Anderson. With 12th spot is Igor Shalonka. Had a lonely but solid race, about there picking up points as per usual. Shalonka always liable to do that, and there it is. There's a minute gap between Shalonka and Fish, so indeed we have the answer there. Fish is indeed a lap down on the entire field, and it has been a disastrous, there's no other way to put it, but a disastrous race for Matthias Fish, who was right in the championship hunt, but this will put a big dent in his championship hopes. Of course, I guess he won't get any weight for the next round coming up, of course, depending on what happens in race 2. But there are ways to lose weight and there are ways to lose championships, and I'm afraid Fish is doing both at the moment, it seems. A development up front, Kovalik has lost 2nd spot, so Kovalik has made a mistake. He's lost 10 seconds, as you can see, to Steb Aladish. Let's try and see if we can see what happened to Sven Kovalik. Don't think we're going to be able to see this. Let's rewind it for you and see if we can find out what exactly happened to Sven Kovalik as we're running through the field there. Not sure when it was, because we spent a couple of minutes there just running through the field, and I didn't notice that Kovalik had lost position to Steb Aladish. But that is disastrous for Kovalik, who has run so well in this race. Ooh, rewind a long way back here. There we are. We found what happened. And it's through these big bumps at turn 6 and 7. And he just got out of shape through the first bump, and then took too much of the second one. He had to just take his medicine, really, and press the brakes and wait for the car to recover and not hit the barrier instead of going for a spectacular save. But he's now back to 3rd spot. He does, however, have 3 laps left in which he can catch Steb Aladish. 2.4 seconds behind him, so he's going to have to go some to catch Steb Aladish. But that is disastrous there really for Sven Kovalik. He's only lost 1 position, but you know, running in a very solid 2nd spot and then dropping back to 3rd through a mistake when he's not under pressure. He will not be feeling good about that at all. Let's stay with him and see what he can do to try and move up towards the Audi of Steb Aladish. That was the fateful set of corners where he made the mistake. Gap is 2.6 now to Steb Aladish. You can see his opponent, but it's all about trying to catch up to him, of course, remember, because Aladish is running 51 kilos and Kovalik running 70, so fairly similar. There shouldn't be too much difference in the performance of the cars, but there's not very much time in which to make that gap up. There's only 2 laps to go, lap 26 and lap 27, and the gap is 2.7 seconds. So I'd say that Kovalik will not be making that time up as he pushes very, very hard indeed. Look at the wheels locking up there into turn one. Jasinski is well ahead now of Patrick Smolny, who... Oh, I'm not sure where Smolny is. He's in 6th. Where is Patrick Smolny? There he is, coming out of the pits. So something's happened to Smolny. Has run out of fuel, perhaps. He must have done. That must be something that's happened to Smolny. Perhaps run out of fuel on these last few laps. So Smolny has found a way in which to lose this good result that he was looking like he was going to have in 4th or 5th spot. So that's gifted Jasinski 4th and Whedon 5th, of course, as well. And Schneider up to 6th as well. And Meisner to 7th. So everyone moved up a position apart from Fish and maybe Sri Lanka. No, Sri Lanka has moved up to 11th also. So that must mean at 12th spot is Patrick Smolny. There he is. But Hauer has completed lap 26. He's on the final lap. Let's watch him around this lap and congratulate Sebastian Hauer on a fantastic win here. Kept his head. Of course, when you have the fastest car, you expect it to win. Then comes the expectation, the pressure that brings with it. And he's handled that expectation and pressure very well indeed. Kept a solid head around him. Didn't let Kovalik get too close. Didn't panic when Kovalik got within a second of him. And has just put together a excellent race here. And Hauer is going to extend his championship lead. There's no doubt about that. .35 points Hauer will score here. Aladish, though, is in 2nd spot, and he would have preferred, I'm sure, Kovalik to be in that 2nd spot because they would have given him a larger gap in the championship. But Hauer crosses the line and wins race 1 here of the GT3 Masters round 6 at Varano. Round 6, race 1, to take a well-deserved victory, and one I would say that was not unexpected at all. Look out for him to dominate now this evening and take that 2nd win also. That would not be unexpected at all. Kovalik finished 3rd in the end with Aladish in 2nd spot. So Aladish will be laying on plenty of plasters of thanks to Kovalik, saying thank you very much for those extra points in the championship. I'll make sure I'll use those to good use. So Aladish gained 4 points in the championship there as a result of Sven Kovalik's mistake. In 4th spot here was Jasinski. So he'll be pretty pleased with that. A 4th spot, considering he has the heaviest car here, is not a terrible result for him at all. With 5th spot, Ricard Whedon, and 6th spot, Michael Schneider. So 1st and 6th for all of the motorsports. Schneider will be pretty pleased with that. Nice solid run for him as well also. Didn't make any silly mistakes. 7th spot was Stefan Meisner. Return to form for Stefan. With 8th spot, Mike Rybak. And 9th spot here was Oyvind Andersen. 10th was filled by Marcel Abraham, who we saw make a mistake on the opening lap of the race. With 11th, Sri Lanka. And 12th, Patrick Smolny, who will be hoping for more luck in the 2nd race here. 13th spot, finally, was Matthias Fish, who will be very disappointed indeed, and so will his fans, about what's happened here today. So we're going to get ready for round 2 of race 2 of the 6th round of the championship. So I'll be right back in just a few minutes time. Put the kettle on. And to those of you who are waiting patiently, we'll be right back in just 2.5 minutes time now. So hang tight, and you'll hear my dulcet tones again very shortly. So welcome back to the 6th round of the NRE GT3 Masters 2013 Championship. You say that's why you're drunk. And all in one breath as well. So we saw a good race there in the first race. That was a third race win of the season for Sebastian Hauer. I will get my words out eventually. But championship leader and reigning champion Sebastian Hauer took his 3rd race win of the season. That's 3 wins for both him and Kovalik so far this season, and extends his championship lead to 10 points. It's a meagre return for Hauer's efforts at the moment. It would be more if it was not for Kovalik's mistake late in the race. So we're going to go into qualifying here right now then. It's for race 2. So let's get you on the track and show you the action that's going on. And here we can see Michael Rayback. He's coming out on track, so let's follow him. There he is for Badass Racing. They are 2nd in the Teams Championship behind AA Motorsport of Aladish and Marcel Abraham. Ryback is teamed up with Fish, and they had a terrible run in that first race. 8th spot for Ryback was okay, but 13th and last of the runners for Matthias Fish was a horrendous result for a driver who has hopes of this championship. As we mentioned, Hauer won that first race. That was a 10-point championship over Steve Aladish. Fish would have lost lots of ground in the championship. Ozinski finished 4th. He was 20 points behind before the start of the race, so he will have lost 11 points, if I'm correct. Indeed, yes, 11 points. My maths just on top of my head. He lost 11 points in the championship, so he's now 31 points behind in the championship. And Fish finished in 13th and just picked up just 8 points, so he's now 47 points behind in the championship. So Hauer leads 10 points to Aladish and 31 to Ozinski and 47 to Fish is the ad hoc calculations I've just done off the top of my head right now. Kovalik is still a way back in the championship. Ryback, here he is on track at the moment. Let's go on board with him and see what kind of style he's got around this circuit. They can't lock it up their left wheel. The inside wheel often looks up at this circuit on those big braking zones because it's quite bumpy in those braking zones. It just lifts up those wheels and they just lock up and lock up and lock up. And the inside wheel locking is not a big deal because it's not the side of the car that's loaded for the corner coming up. But the outside wheel being locked up is a very bad deal indeed. And that's a lovely apex there from Mike Ryback as he come through X corner. Had almost a duck before we hit, just in case we hit that curb on the inside. Ryback kind of goes middle of the road for his apex at the final corner. What can Ryback do? He was 4 tenths up on Meisner, who set a lap time around about the 6's, and Ryback goes to 5.5. So he'll be pleased with that, in fact, actually. 5.5 is pretty good there from Mike Ryback. Let's see what he can do in the second part. In the second part of his lap, let's quickly go to Matthias Fish. Fish is 3 tenths down in that first sector already on Patrick Smolny. So Smolny's going to 5.3 this time around. He spun, remember, on his first lap last time, on his second lap, sorry, last time around in the first qualifying session, should I say. So he's coming around now. He's a tenth, just over a tenth up on Mike Ryback, as Meisner does a 5.832. So everyone getting very close in this qualifying session at the moment. Lots of people into the 5s, but Smolny is 3.5 tenths up on his own time in that first sector. Oh, he's pushed it too hard into turn 4 and 5 and has run wide and understeered on the exit. That'll cost him around about half a second, I would say. And the split's coming up. He's still up, so he lost 3 tenths of a second. Not as much as I thought he would. Not used all of the track there either at X. That shows he didn't take that corner optimally either. As now he comes around turn 9, did an apex there correctly. Pushing too hard now into turn 10. It's all gone wrong, I think, this lap up for Patrick Smolny. He just pushed too hard. It's going so well, and he's pushed too hard, I think, on the rest of the lap, and it's going to be a 5.454. It could have been so much more for Patrick Smolny. Unfortunate there for him. You could see really that coming. Sure, we saw a bumper there at the final corner. I'm pretty sure that's from Ryback's car as well, or maybe Anderson's car. In fact, actually, more like Anderson's car. In fact, Anderson is still there, sat there, and yes, indeed, it is Anderson's car. As you can see, his car is destroyed. But Hauer takes pole position with a 104.844. That is an excellent lap there from Hauer. 104.9 he did last time around. Wasn't quite close to his fastest time he could do in pre-practice, but that 4.8 is some 7 tenths of a second faster than he managed on his first flying lap in qualifying 1. Let's see whether he can improve there. 10th down that first sector, not a big deal because it's kind of in a funny area, that first sector split through that braking zone. So it could have been that he just takes that corner a bit better this time around on the exit, and he's still a 10th down, so he's kind of around about the same where he was on the previous lap. Let's see what we can do in the final section here. Howard pushing as hard as he can. Not really threatened, I don't think, for that pole position at the moment. Kovalik is there in 7th spot at the moment. Let's quickly jump to him after Howard completes his lap. See what Howard can do. Looks like he's understeering a little bit through that final corner. And it won't be an improvement for Howard. Will it? No. 10th down. He did improve in that final set. But Kovalik goes 3rd with a 5.372. So Kovalik 3rd once again on the grid. Ryback in 4th. Meisner in 5th. Kaczynski qualified 2nd last time around. He's not set a lap time at the moment. Neither has Michael Schneider. Marcel Abraham, has he set a lap time at the moment? He has not. So he's just coming around. He's only 4 tenths down on Howard at the moment. So he could get himself into a good qualifying position once again. People just pushing it a bit too hard at that final corner. All about control for that final section. All about control. And Howard is going to be a 7 tenths down on, Abraham's going to be 7 tenths down on Hauer, and he slots into that 4th spot. He'll be pleased with that though, because there is 4th. Aladish, I think he may have set all his lap time, so he's back there in 9th. He will not be happy with that at all. He's got a race on his hands, no doubt about that. Schneider is about to complete his lap. We'll jump to Wazinski after we watch Schneider complete his first flying. He's 1.6 seconds down, in fact, actually, so not fireworks from him. Let's just go to Wazinski then and see where Wazinski's at. Wazinski is 7 tenths down after that second sector. So Schneider goes 10th, as you can see there. Thinks he's lapped at the moment because he's not set a lap time, pushing very hard through turn 10. That's where you should be pushing though, because you can get it sorted out. It's on the exit of the corners like this, but leading along straights, we don't want to get that big slide on. The middle of the corners like that, it's not so much of a big deal. And 5.698 is slopped into that 6th spot at the moment. What can he do on this second lap? That's the question. Shalonka still in 13th. Schneider in 11th. We'll see where Schneider slots in also. Abraham there, he goes into 4th spot with a 5.418. So at the moment it's Hauer and Schmoll in that first row with Kovalik and Abraham. Rybak and Osinski on the third row. Osinski is 4 tenths down once again in that first sector. Really struggling. That's the sector that punishes the weight the most though. So let's see what he can do through the second sector and the final sector. Osinski was 7 tenths down last time around, and he's 5 tenths down this time around, so he may be improving. He may jump ahead of Rybak and or Abraham, as Schneider goes to the 6.3, improves his lap time, but doesn't really improve where he is on the circuit. He's in 10th, but he's ahead of Aladish, so at least he's ahead of a big name such as Stev. And Osinski, where can he slot in? It's 5th, so he did get ahead of Rybak. That didn't quite manage to sneak ahead of Marcel Abraham, but 5th spot's not too bad for Osinski as long as he gets a good start to the race and doesn't get mired in a mid-pack battle. Remember, he has the most weight of any driver here today, 95 kilos on board. But congratulations to Sebastian Hauer. He has set the fastest lap time once again in this qualifying session. And he has pole position once again in this qualifying session. That's his 3rd pole position of the season. And one would definitely, if the one was a betting man, definitely be betting on Hauer to make this 2 out of 2. The races, should I say. So, we'll be right back in just a few moments' time. And we're back with a warm-up for this track. And we'll get you on board with one of the drivers, and they'll take around a lap of this circuit, and you can enjoy that. Back in just a few moments' time. Welcome back to the GT3 Masters from Varano. We just seen qualifying 2 take place, and we just saw Sebastian Hauer once again take pole position for this event. Not a surprise there, one would say. So we're going to go back into this event. As you can see, it's 27 laps around this circuit. We saw 27 laps already in the first race, and big championship stories really was the plight of Matthias Abraham. Matthias Abraham. I'm getting completely confused. It's Marcel Abraham, of course, dropped back along with Matthias Fish. Matthias Fish is the big commentary, the big championship story there. Matthias Fish was just 20 points behind the championship, but has lost 27 points through him finishing 13th in that race and last of the runners. So that was not good at all for Matthias Fish of Badass Racing. He will be looking to bounce back here, but he's only qualified 8th in this race, so he's going to lose more ground in the championship, one would think. So we're going to go into this warm-up here, and we'll show you a few of the drivers around this beautiful Varano circuit as created by Elwood and Mad Horse. Great names for the people who created this, but they put a lot of effort into this. Let's go on board with Oyvind Anderson. In fact, actually, I've not seen too much of Oyvind in this race so far. On board with him, and Oyvind is 60 years old, and he's probably the fastest 60-year-old I think I have ever witnessed. And he's doing very well indeed. For those of you who like sim racing, we have in the Touring Pro Series, the league that I run, we have the Tom Onslow Cole Clio Series. Penultimate round. The series really has gone very fast indeed. Seems like it was only yesterday that the first round took place back in April. But we have the Tom Onslow Cole Clio Series. It's round 9 of 10 from Snetterton on Wednesday. That's Wednesday the 31st of July at 7:45 UK time and 8:45 for Central Europe time. So you can tune into that from that's at touringproseries.com/broadcast. Make sure you tune into that, and a spectator will win one of the lovely Team OC snapback hats also as well, signed by Tom Onslow Cole himself, a BTCC race winner. Remember also, in that particular series, drivers are competing to win a test drive, and all expenses paid test drive in a Volkswagen Racing Cup Golf. We'll get that out eventually. Team Harm campaign in the Volkswagen Racing Cup Championship. It's like an undercard to the BTCC. An exit race car it is also as well, and so that's what drivers are looking forward to. It's a test and a chance to prove themselves in a real life situation, a situation they wouldn't normally get the opportunity to do so. And it's a kind of test that's worth about £4,000 if you were to buy it and rent the track to yourself or whatever. So it really is a fantastic prize provided by Team Hard, who have been going well this season with their brand new Volkswagen Passat CCs. Lots of podiums with Tom Onslow Cole this season in the BTCC. So that's what's happening in the Touring Pro Series on Wednesday. So if you're a fan of that, make sure you tune in. We've got Snetterton, and we've got the brand new 2013 Clios, and they're providing excellent fun also. I will be in the commentary booth alongside Scott Woodwis, and Tom Onslow Cole will join us for the final round of the season, which is 2 weeks on Wednesday at Knock Hill, and that will be the decider of that championship. We've got big names such as Jack Keithley, Jesper Tolborg, Toby Davis fighting for that championship. And we'll have around about 40 Clios on track at once, so that will be entertaining, I'm sure, and have no doubt about that. There's Marcel Abraham. He's practicing hard for this second race after his mistake in the first race that saw him drop back and finish 11th in the end. In fact, it might have been 10th, in fact, actually, if my memory serves me correct. But either way, it was not the result he was looking for after being third after the opening lap. No doubt about that. So what's going to happen here is we're going to go into the race. We're going to have a formation lap. Remember, the drivers will go around and they'll pick up their grid slots, and we'll have a standing start, just like in Formula 1 or British touring cars or V8 supercars, whatever you watch. It's kind of that same kind of formula, not a rolling start. We'll just do a formation lap, pick up their grid slots, and away we go. And we'll be away into this race. Another 27 laps around this fantastic Varano de Milagari circuit, which has provided hot action, even when the drivers are by themselves on track, because the track is so busy. I'm sure the drivers will be very, very tired after this particular event, no doubt about that. So not too far away from the race now. Make sure to tune in 4 weeks' time for the next round of the GT3 Masters, and that will be coming from Mantorp Park. So that should be a very interesting race indeed. Mantorp is not exactly the most accommodating of circuits, one would say. A little bit like this, in fact, actually. So looking forward to Mantorp Park hosting a round of that. That's in 4 weeks' time. This series takes place every 4 weeks on a Sunday night. So if you're a bit bored on a Sunday night, you've done everything you can do for the weekend, you want to sit back and relax, well, switch on, tune in, and enjoy the GT3 Masters from Net Racing Europe. Apologies if you can hear the seagulls once again. just outside my window, cawing away. They're incredibly annoying at night as well. Also, it's a good job I get up early in the morning, because if I didn't, I would have no choice but to get up anyway, because they start crowing about 5 in the morning, and it can be incredibly annoying, and especially during winter, which is the nesting season for them. During the summer, sorry, is the nesting season for them. During the winter, it's great because they're not around at all. So, here it is, the formation lap for this race. Sebastian Hauer, can he make it 2 out of 2? It's more a case of, in fact, actually, can anybody stop Sebastian Hauer making it 2 out of 2? That's the issue, really, because Sebastian Hauer has been in imperious form here today, and he has been in great form in the championship also, even with this massive weights that have been put on it all the time. The field now coming around. And there we see, there's Smolny, he's only second on the grid. Kovalic's going to be third, Abraham fourth, Izinski fifth, Rybak in sixth. And Hagman, I think, has managed to get himself into the game. He's been having problems with his, oh, wrong button. Press the right button, there we go. He's been having problems with his R-factor crashing all the time, so I think Hagman has managed to get himself into the series, into racing here today. Indeed he has. That's fantastic stuff. So Hagman has managed to stop his R-factor from crashing. So he's on the circuit also. That makes it 14 runners for the driver for the race here today. Nice to see Hagman, because he's been going very well indeed. In fact, actually, previously in this season, improving all the time. And the lights are all on. And the lights are out for race 2 at Varano here. Look at the field spread out there. That's Rickard Whedon avoiding somebody on the track. Not sure who it is. And there in the wall goes Stefan Meisner as we go down to the first corner. And Kovalic's going to second spot, diving down the inside of, it looks like, Patrick Smolny. Looking back now from Sebastian Hauer, who is the race leader. There is Kovalik. In third spot is Marcel Abraham. In fourth is Izinski. Fifth is Anderson. Where is Patrick Smolny? Where is Patrick Smolny? Here he is in 8th spot, so he's dropped from 2nd to 8th in the open lap of the race. Aladish is getting past. Also has contact! Contact as Smolny goes around. Smolny is around. There's in the middle of the track. He needs to stay where he is and try and move up the way. He's done so. That's good work from him. In fact, actually, just one driver looked like he just tapped the front of Patrick Smolny. Let's go on board with Patrick Smolny, see what happened. Down the inside of Aladish, we'd already let Hagman go through, or Whedon, whichever it was, and Smolny was just kind of stuck there, trying to get going. Probably not the greatest idea, but it worked in the end. I think Hagman just maybe clipped the front of him as he came through, but disastrous for Smolny. As we see him come straight past Shalonka on the grass. He was on the grass as he went past Shalonka through there. But back to live action now, and there is Smolny. He's back in 12th spot. So look for fireworks from Patrick Smolny charging through this field now then. He's got the speed, and going to see some great racing from him. And again, Hauer has opened up over 1.5 second gap on the opening lap over Sven Kovalik. We saw the exact same gap in the first race. There is Kovalik in second. Marcel Abraham this time around has not spun on the opening lap of the race while in third spot. He is in third. Izinski's in fourth. Izinski again, we're saying about Izinski, if he gets a couple of fourths from this race, he'll be pretty happy with that. No doubt about that. In fact, he'll go to third now, because back to fourth has gone Marcel Abraham. He has made the mistake again in this race, and he comes and joins just ahead of Aladish. So that's back to 6th spot for Marcel Abraham. Not as bad as a mistake as he made in the first race, of course, but still bad enough to make him seethe inside that car. I'm pretty sure about that, as Hauer sets a fast lap of the race of 5.412. He's just leisurely strolling around at the moment with a 5.412, whilst everyone else behind him has problems. Marcel Abraham, in fact, is in 5th spot, Aladish in 6th, and Anderson in 7th. And there's Aladish got a great run out the corner, but had to kind of check up so as not to hit Abraham. Now he's under pressure from looking back. I'm trying to my apologies. I'm trying to look back from Abraham, and there we have it. Anderson got past Aladish. So look at the replay on that. There comes Aladish, got a great run out the corner. He has to check up so as not to hit his teammate Marcel Abraham, who's slow on the exit, and that left him vulnerable to Oyvind Anderson, who dived down the inside Thank you very much, boys. I'll split those two Audis. I'll take that 6th spot. So back to live action now. Abraham pushing hard right into the gravel on the exit there also. Whedon is up to 4 spots. He was very pleased with that. While Howard still has a 2.3 second lead over Kovalik. 3rd spot is Uzinski. If Uzinski can stick in 3rd spot, he'll be pretty happy with his haul of points from this event. 4th and 3rd will be great for him considering he has 95 kilos on board. Well, Ryback and Aladish in big trouble there, and I think Whedon went wide there at the first corner. He did, and he's lost lots of ground to Abrams. Oh, and Anderson in the background. Oh, just about holding that slide coming out of the corner, showing the reactions of a 21-year-old, not a 60-year-old there, as Anderson just about to stop that car from going off the circuit. Aladish is in 7th spot, under attack from Ryback, and Fish is enduring an absolutely terrible weekend. I'm not got any idea what is wrong with Matthias Fish, but he is travelling very, very slowly indeed here at this circuit. Maybe he's not had time to practice for this event, but there's 4 weeks between events, so that's really not an excuse that he can use either. So not sure what has happened to Matthias Fish at all, but back in 11th spot. 12th spot is Smolny. He's not made any progress at all, perhaps getting a bit too antsy with his mistake and pushing too hard and therefore making more mistakes and dropping back further off the back of the grid. He's in 12th spot. With 13th spot is Shalonka, just gamely going around making sure he picks up points. He's got a bit of damage on the front of his Corvette, in fact, actually there. So fastest lap of the race again from Sebastian Hauer. There he is on lap 4 in that yellow Corvette. We've seen that scene plenty of times this season so far. Let's go back then to the battle for 7th spot. That's where the action is at the moment. There's Aladish. He's right behind Anderson, and Ryback is behind him, as is Schneider behind Ryback. So that's 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, covered by just 1.6 seconds, 1.8 seconds, should I say, on the timing. Looking back at Aladish. There's Ryback behind. Lost a bit of ground through that section there. It's very easy to lose ground through that turn 4 and 5 from my experience. And look at the ground, in fact, that Ryback has just lost. And now Schneider's right behind him. Remember, Schneider had a great first race here, great debut in the GT3 Masters. Finished in 6th spot after qualifying in 8th, so he was very happy with that indeed. Fastest off the race there from Hauer, 5.048. So he pulls away from Kovalik even more. Kovalik, in this race, is struggling a lot more than he was in that first race. Because, in fact, after about 20 laps, he's only 2 seconds behind Sebastian Hauer, who really kept Sebastian Hauer very honest indeed. And now we're at the end of lap 5, and already he's 4.3 seconds behind. But he's still at 2nd spot. Remember, he made a mistake later in the race, in race 1, which saw him drop back to 3rd, which we'll be pretty annoyed about. Let Step Aladish finish in 2nd spot. But in terms of the championship, this is working out beautifully right now for Sebastian Hauer, who's picking up, remember, 35 points right now for that race victory, which is obviously as it stands. And Aladish is in 7th spot, who will pick up just 18. So that gap of 10 points will extend to 27 if the field stays as it is. Kovalik in 2nd spot. Let's go back to that battle talking about Aladish. Oh, Schneider in fact is in 7th spot at the moment. Where is Aladish? There is Aladish in 6th. Not sure what has happened. What has happened? I do apologise, my screen has become completely blank for me at the moment, so I'll try and get back to the action as soon as I can here. While you watch, I'm sure you're just watching Step Aladish go around the circuit at the moment, and you kind of figure out for yourself what exactly has happened, who has dropped back there. It looked like maybe Ryback has dropped back, because he was ahead of Schneider, and now it seems like Schneider and Aladish are together, so that means Aladish is back up to that 6th spot. There we are, now my screen has come back. No idea why it went black there. I do apologise for that technical gremlin. But Aladish there is in 6th spot, and it is Ryback who's dropped back. As I was saying, he's in 8th spot, with Fish now up to 9th. So he's gone from 11th to 9th. Anderson has made a big mistake. So it's Anderson and Ryback who've dropped back. Anderson's gone back to 12th spot now. Look at him, right back in the distance there. So Anderson was in around about 6th spot. Now he's in 12th. That means Aladish has gone back into that 6th spot. Another 2 points for him. Only losing 15 points to Hauer now. So the gap of 25 points coming away from this event as it stands at the moment. But Fish is in 9th, and he's losing plenty of ground. He'll be losing another 21 points, meaning the gap will be 68 to Sebastian Hauer. So really just, when things go wrong, they go wrong badly, as the saying goes. Oh, now the background as well, Smolny around. Smolny has made another mistake in this race. Around he went, just in the background while we were watching Matthias Fish, and he was challenging Marcus Hagman into the first turn, went for a move, got it all sorted out, no problem there, but then just hit the curb a bit too hard and put the power on too early, and around she goes. And that's what happened when you just hit the curb too hard and put the power on too early. He's now back to 11th spot, but still ahead of Oyvind Andersen. Look at the side of Oyvind Andersen's car. In fact, actually, look at that. Andersen's car is battered on the right-hand side, front of it. Not looking good at all. Something's happened to him, obviously. Made a mistake somewhere. Maybe he's had a helping hand. There's a bit of damage, in fact, actually, at the back end of that car also. So whether he's been in at the back and in at the front, or whether he's actually been tapped into that spin, I'm not quite sure. But something has happened, of course. It means Ryback is in 8th. Fish is in 9th, his teammate right behind him. And Ryback is now challenging Matthias Schneider. Michael Schneider, should I say. Sorry, with Schneider being a brand new driver to the championship. I get a bit confused, but Michael Schneider, he is in 7th spot, ahead of Ryback and Fish. Ryback goes deep into turn 4 and 5. And again, look at that. Ryback lost lots of ground through turn 4 and 5. Hauer complete lap 9, still in the lead of this race. Another 6.5 seconds now back to Kovalik. So Hauer is either much faster in this second race, or Kovalik is much slower. I think it's Kovalik being much slower because Hauer's pretty much around the same kind of pace, 5.0s, at low 5s kind of pace. Abraham's not gaining on Whedon now either. This is the closest battle on track at the moment, with Schneider, Ryback and Fish. Smolny back in the 11th spot. 3 seconds behind this group in fact actually, so he could possibly still get up to 7th spot in theory, even though, well no sorry, he's in fact 11 seconds behind Schneider, should I say, sorry, that's Hagman, he's 3 seconds behind him, he's in 10th spot. Here is Hagman, and I'm sure Hagman's just glad to be on track at the moment because he missed the first race due to technical gremlins. He seems to be running okay at the moment, so he'll be fairly satisfied with the 10th spot, no doubt about that. 4.648 for Sebastian Hauer. Fantastic lap for him. He goes from strength to strength. A second faster than Kovalik on that lap. Let's go on board with Hauer then. Let's see how he's doing it. Master at work. And those are some laps there with Sebastian Hauer, who's doing everything very comfortably indeed. And the floor I could pick out during those couple of laps was a small nick of the curb at turn 4 on the previous lap. The gap is 7.7 seconds back to Kovalik, who is running very lonely in that second spot, with Uzinski is in third, but he's not completely comfortable over fourth spot Marcel Abraham, who's only just there, look at that, avoided poor Igor Shalonka. Shalonka was getting cleaned up there by Marcel Abraham. Abraham had his heart in his mouth as he came through there. We've seen also, looking at the standings there, Ryback has dropped back once again. So Fish is now up to 8th spot. I guess every point counts for Matthias Fish. This is not promising for the rest of the season at all. Spent much of the season trying to catch up to Sebastian Hauer. And now, once he was within striking distance of the German, he has dropped back once again. Now at the moment he's trying to work over Michael Schneider. And of course, is Sebastian Hauer's teammate. Lap 13, halfway through this race. No pit stops in this race, so we go right to the end of lap 27. Looking forward from Matthias Fisch's car. Michael Schneider. I'm not sure what's wrong with Matthias Fisch. Just the car isn't terrible. He's not missing apex or anything like that. It's just not working at all, it seems, for him. Just generally slow. Not making big mistakes. Apexes are all there. Just doesn't seem to be able to extract any speed at all from this car. Whether it's perhaps the McLaren that's the slow side of it, but of course his teammate Mike Ryback has been pretty much, well, generally much quicker than Matthias Fisch. Usually it's the other way around, so that can't be the case also. Though I'm not sure what has been happening with Matthias Fisch. Of course, Owen Anderson was ahead of Matthias Fisch for a while in this race also as well, so that can't be the issue. Whatever it is, something that Matthias Fisch needs to fix for the next round at Mantorp Park. That's in 4 weeks' time. Same place, same time. Kovalik in 2nd spot still. 3rd spot is still Uzinski. He's dropping back slowly but surely into the clutches of Marcel Abraham. Marcel can get ahead of Uzinski. That will help his teammate Stev Aladish out in the championship. If not for 1st spot, but at least for kind of holding off Uzinski for that 2nd spot in the championship at the moment. Of course, the less drivers you have to overtake in the championship, the better. Ball with Marcel Abraham through those big curves at turns 6 and 7, trying to hit them too hard. If you don't hit them hard enough, you just understeer off the circuit, so it's a bit of a tightrope through there. Difficult braking zone into X also as well. Lots of runoff. But if you do run too far, you run straight into the gravel. The gravel slows you right down. You lose half a second, a second. Marcel Abraham's already been for a trip in that gravel in this race so far. From 3rd to 5th spot, now he's back up into that 4th. So he's showing good pace here today, Marcel Abraham. Didn't show good recovery pace in that 1st race, it has to be said, but it was decent enough. He's showing better pace in this 2nd race. This is a battle for 7th place once again. Michael Schneider is still holding off Matthias Fisch, and that will be pleasing his teammate Sebastian Hauer, of course. Every point counts in the championship. Ryback just jumping over that curb a bit too hard there. You can't put the power down, remembering real drive, when the car is bouncing. If the car's bouncing, you can't put the power down because you just spit you off the circuit because one tyre is inevitably landing just before another. And so the key is to have a stable race car, a car that's able to run the bumps as much and run the curb as much as possible. That's always the case, of course. And if it's not the case, you just have to stay off the curbs in those traction zones. And here comes Fish down the inside of Michael Schneider. Not going to work this time around. I was surprised, in fact, actually, that Matthias Fisch was in a position to even make that pass a possibility, because Michael looked much quicker out of turns 4 and 5. Perhaps he just wasn't committed through turns 6 and 7 as Matthias Fisch. And the way didn't quite get down the inside anyway. So nothing doing there. It's a non-story really. But Matthias trying to get down the inside here. Wish those seagulls would shut up. getting louder and louder, screaming at each other. Nesting season, so the big grey juveniles are walking around, looking lost. Actually, I had a couple of them fall off the roof. In fact, actually, when they couldn't fly, and I'm afraid to say, it's quite a big roof. So when they hit the ground, smack, and broken their neck, unfortunately. A couple have been fortunate and fallen off and just kind of ended up looking around lost, not able to go anywhere because they can't fly. But other ones have not been fortunate at all. Here comes Fish down the inside again. No!